My name is James Hal Cone, and I entered this world determined to disrupt peaceful theology that overlooked my people's pain alongside churches that profess love while supporting injustice and nations claiming freedom while executing lynchings against Black people. My birthplace was Fortis, Arkansas, a small segregated town that welcomed me on August 5, 1938. But what I lived for and what I sought for was the liberation of Black people through the radical message of Jesus Christ. I am the father of Black liberation theology, a movement that declared unapologetically that God is Black, not because God has skin, but because God identifies with the oppressed, with the poor, and with those cast out and crucified by society. I grew up in the Jim Crow South, surrounded by the stifling weight of white supremacy. But in the midst of that oppression, I found power, not in schools or the government, but in Black church. The shouting, the singing, the preaching, it was there that I heard the voice of God, a God who saw us, knew us, and loved us in our Blackness. I pursued education as a path toward freedom. I earned my BA from Philander Smith College, a historically Black college, and continued my theological training at Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary. Eventually, I earned my PhD from Northwestern University, but the more theology I read, the more I realized something was missing: us. While theologians could quote Barth and Bultmann, they couldn't tell me what God had to say about being Black in America. Then came the 1960s, when I was deeply inspired by Martin Luther King Jr., who preached nonviolence, and also by Malcolm X, who demanded Black dignity by any means necessary. But theology and the ivory towers seemed blind to the fire burning in the streets. I couldn't sit comfortably in a seminary while my people bled. In 1969, I published Black Theology and Black Power, a declaration that shook the foundations of American Christianity. In the book, I wrote these words: "To be Christian is to be one of those whom God has chosen. God has chosen Black people." I said what had long been whispered in Black churches: the gospel is liberation, or it is nothing at all. My theology begins with this truth: God is on the side of the oppressed. If you want to know where God is today, look at the prisons, the ghettos, refugee camps, border walls. God is there. In a Black theology of liberation, I argued that any theology that is not liberative is not Christian. Jesus didn't die of old age. He was lynched by an empire, just like Black men were lynched from trees in the South. My final major work, The Cross and the Lynching Tree, made this connection explicit. The cross and the lynching tree are symbols of death, but also of hope, of defiance in the face of the terror. I confronted white theologians who pretended to be objective. I told them neutrality in the face of racism is betrayal. Can we hear them now? Theologians asked today. I hope they can, because I said it plainly. If Jesus Christ is not for Black liberation, then gospel is a lie. I was not perfect. I began my theological journey focused mostly on Black men's experiences. In time, I listened to my sisters, womanist theologians like Katie Cannon and Dolores Williams, who challenged me to see the full picture of Black suffering and Black hope. Scholars like Matt have traced how my anthropology evolved. So how I became to see Blackness not just as resistance, but as sacred. Our culture, our stories, our survival, all of it reflects the image of God. The Imago Dei wears an afro. It walks through Harlem and sings spirituals born from slave ships. It is Black. I died in 2018, but my theology lives on. After the death of George Floyd, pastors, protesters, and professors alike return to my words. They read my books as history, not as history, but as prophecy. Today, students across America, even across Africa, still study my work. Black liberation theology has crossed borders and inspired movements, not because it's radical, but because it's true. Christianity divorced from justice is idolatry. That's what I said. That's what I still believe. Let me leave you with this. If your church is silent while Black people suffer, it is not Christ's church. If your theology cannot hear the cries of the oppressed, it is not Christian. If your gospel does not liberate, it is not good news. I said it then, and I say it now. God is black. Jesus is with the poor, and the Holy Spirit is a fire that burns down every system of oppression. Will you join me in the struggle?